you guys, it's Linnea, and today I'll be using a couple of products from Penguin Palace, mixing their new stencil, the Crystal Snowflake stencil, with the Rabbit Cafe stamp set from the last release. So I'm going to start off with a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock, and I'm just going to take the Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide ink and kind of just give a little bit of shading to my cardstock. I'm keeping it concentrated around the edges and lighter on the inside, but you will see that gray all over. I'm starting off with some red Distress Oxide ink, and I was using the Candied Apple at first, and it looked kind of orange. Now I think it's just because the ink was laying on my stencil. I kind of lifted up my stencil and underneath it looked okay, but I decided to switch over to the Fired Brick anyway, just to get that deep red, Christmassy red that I was really looking for. And once I had all of my ink on there, you can kind of see the gray around the outside with those red snowflakes in the middle. I used my scissors and just freehand cut a little hill, and this is going to be the basis of my scene, and I did add a little bit of gray ink to the edge just to give that a little bit of definition there. I'll just glue that onto the bottom, and then I'm going to stamp out some of the images from the stamp set here. I'm using the Rabbit Cafe stamp set, and I'm just going to be coloring them in with my Copic markers. I didn't keep in all of the coloring because it is fairly simple. I either start with a light coat and then go into my dark and blend out with my light, or sometimes I even just go straight in with my dark and blend out with my light. I'm keeping my color palette very simple. The background is red, so I'm keeping a focus on the red. So like her little dress is going to be red, and when I start coloring the coffee shop, there'll be some red there too. I did bring in just a little bit of warm gray for her headband and the bottom part of her dress, and then also this kind of pine green color for her bag. Really very simple. For the whitish areas of my shop, like the windows and the sign, I'm using a C0 Copic marker. This just gives me a little bit of shading, but keeps the areas looking white. Like I said, I did bring in the red for the roof and for that little banner there. And when I color images for a card, I try to keep the images cohesive, so I'm using the same red shades that I used for her dress on the shop. And then I had brought in some warm grays, so I'm doing that for the shop there. And then also the brown for her leggings I'm using on the door. So now I die cut those with the coordinating Rabbit Cafe dies, and I'm going to start assembling my card, but I noticed that I had some red ink smudges because the oxide ink is a pigment ink, so I just used a sand eraser to quickly just kind of scratch away that color. I'll stamp a sentiment on the bottom of that hill. It's going to say stay sweet, and I will stamp that with that same Fired Brick Distress Oxide ink. To finish off the card, I added some gems all over my background and then some glitter onto the red areas of my colored images. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you love this project, and I will see you soon. Bye!